So we'll talk about brand management. So brand, it's kind of like a very difficult, you're talking about like, how do you manage art? It's very difficult, right? So brand management is equally difficult. It is the development of the brand perception in the market. It is constructing a positive relationship in the market, target market, and it's vital for brand management. But it also encompasses every aspect of the customer's brand's association. So from the outside, your look, what you sound like, your music, your advertising, your packaging, your logo, to the inside. How do people feel about you? What do you make people feel? So brand management is a function of marketing that uses techniques to increase a perceived value of product or a product line. And it involves not only creating a brand, but it needs to understand the product that could fit in the brand company. So what you do is, this is how to do branding. This is my short version of it. These are the key concepts that you need to do in order to understand branding. In the steps, look at the part on the left. We need to identify and establish brand positioning and values. So think about this. All right. In this case, I will have to give an example of something that is a little bit more disturbing. So as a marketer, I think that there is a lot of disparity in social classes. We talk about equality, we talk about all of these things. However, we cannot deny that there will always be difference in social class. You've got people who are branded as the nouveau rich. You have people are branded as old money. The people who are old money are the people who are coming from a long line of people with money. So it comes with a higher positioning. If you're old money, your family has tradition of owning money, you usually are associated with more aristocratic positioning. So you're here. But if you're new money, you people who are called new money are people who are looked down on because they have just escaped poverty. So they still have a lot of habits or traits that reminds other people of their difficult upbringing from the beginning. So how do we say this? Okay, in terms of branding, let's talk in terms of country branding. Did you know that the biggest client in luxurious goods in the world are Chinese clients, are Asian clients, but mostly Chinese clients? The reason is that's why, Louis Vuitton and other brands, they have to limit that you can only buy 1 or 2 products per day per one customer because they don't want everybody to start buying the product and reselling, blah, blah. So what happens is Europeans usually look at the Asian way of spending money into, expensive stuff as they look down on it. The reason is if you know fashion, you need to know high fashion. And high fashion usually doesn't involve buying just brand name products and doesn't involve putting on a lot of logo on your body. Did you know that after 2010, it was really interesting. After 2010, the world economics was so bad, we have a recession all over the world and here in Vietnam as well, that people had a bad branding if they were wearing a handbag with a logo like Gucci, Louis Vuitton bags. What happens was when they wear a handbag like that, the working people look at you and they feel like you are one of the problems. You are one of those people who have pushed the economy and lost your money and now we are all suffering. So what happens is the whole fashion world in the world, they discontinued all the handbags, belts, clothes, scarves that had monogram logos. They tried to make their expensive product as subtle as possible with no visible trademark or logo. And so that is what, see, these trends, they change all the time. So the positioning, you have to identify and establish your positioning. You have to know whether you're high class, mid class, or lower class. You have to think about if you're high income, middle income, or lower income. You have to think about if you identify yourself as friendly, which also means lower positioning, or you are identifying yourself as intimidating, higher up, and expensive, difficult to access kind of a brand. So that is brand positioning. You cannot have branding without your values. It is the you in your business. You need to understand that. Why do you get great service from your one company? Because you feel like they are friendly, empathizing, and they are good humans. And yet you would complain about bad service when you feel like you have the horrible treatment there, where those people are not good people. So your values is very important, and values in business is all about how you train your employees. How are they treating different customers? How are you treating your employees and your customers and your partners and your suppliers? Do you pay them on time? Do you haggle? Do you try to bargain with everything? And that is your values. How do you treat other people is going to reflect on how your customers see you. Step number 2, after you have known that what positioning do you own and what value do you want to communicate and you want to hold dear, you have to plan and implement marketing program. This is when you think, how much money should I put into advertising? How much money should I put into digital website, digital advertising and marketing? How much money should I spend on a website, on a TV commercial, yada, yada. And then implement, that's planning, but implementation without a clear understanding of your brand, it's going to be impossible to do implementation of marketing. Because if you're doing advertising, you have to know what graphic, what message, what is the text that shows on it. If you don't understand your brand, where are you going to get the material to put into your advertisement? So for example, a brand that I really love, a brand that I think are genius in terms of branding is Volvo, the car. Volvo is a super, super ugly car. I have to say it's super ugly. It's not famous for its motor. It's not famous for the power, for the speed, for the design. It is famous for only one thing. It is famous for safety. And it's in order to understand how hardcore they are about their safety brand, you look into your car and know that the seatbelt that you use was invented by Volvo. The car crash test was invented by Volvo. The children's seat that you put your toddler inside and you put into the car was invented by Volvo. They are the company. They are not a ministry of, traffic or ministry of safety. They are just a company that decided to invest a lot of money into innovating how cars are driven and how to make them safer. That's how amazing they are. If you look at all of their, dozens of years of building that brand, it's amazing. It affects how they design the car, how they put into the material, the engineering, blah, blah, blah. But apart from that, if you look at every Volvo's advertising, you will see that all the message is revolving around safety. It talks about children. It talks about what kind of children your kid is going to grow up into, what kind of dreams they have. How do we keep that dream and how to make it happen by keeping the children safe. So if you look at all of their advertising, I think if I'm not mistaken, they even invented, and they did something really weird. One of their marketing tactics was they invented a special kind of paint because they realized that they don't not only they want to keep their drivers safe, they care about the safety of the people outside of the car. So they see that a lot of people who are riding bicycles, riders and even motorcycles have been into car accidents. So they invented a special kind of paint where you can paint your bike or your coats or your costume so that other cars can notice you in the dark and can avoid you in case of emergencies. So that's how amazing they are. And in terms of marketing, branding, advertising, and R&D, the implementation of the brand has to kind of like, everything has to smell of that brand. Everything from toilet paper to the paint of the motorcycle to the seatbelt. Every decision about your product and service, every decision you make about your company will need to have that brand value inside. All right, so after you plan and implement, you will measure and interpretate the brand's performance. How is it performing? If we think that we are looking for safety, so our clients will be older people, people with small children, young families. Our branding program has to be able to serve them. Then measure. How many of our clients belong to that group? If then you find out that most of your clients are from 17 to 21, then maybe you have a problem with your branding strategy. Next, after that, you have to grow and sustain the brand equity. You know, the Hermes bag. Hermes, the most expensive bag, Birkin. Okay, yeah, that's how you pronounce it. Most people, I don't know about you, but I don't see a lot of people know that their original company was making the saddle for the horse, because they are a family that are extremely good at the craftsmanship with leather. So what happens is they've been working with leather and making these horse saddles for so long, and for rich people who can own these beautiful horses, and they are in the aristocrat group, that then they switch into handbags and they carry that craftsmanship until now. We've got Vietnamese, you know, in the world, we've got models, actresses buying these bags. But the equity of that brand is not the fact that some model is using it. The equity of that brand is that they have spent hundreds of years building a family business that is excellent at dealing with leather. And that's their brand, that they never stop, even if they were a small business at home, or they became one of the most expensive handbags in the world. So if you go back on the second part of the slides, you can see, we'll talk about that in the next sessions, but the concept is you have to use something called mental maps in order to map out what your brand stands for. You have to put in your competitive references into the mind mapping, because you will see your competition. If they do something already, don't try to copy them. Try to stand out and be authentic as who you are. You have to think about points of parity and points of difference between you and your competition. Core brand association. Do you want to be associated with freedom or with maturity? You want them to come to associate yourself with knowledge or with sports. All of these things have to be taken into consideration into building your brand positioning and values. In terms of plan implementation, you have to think about different elements: advertising, TVC, brand message, letter from the CEO, events, charity, all of those things. Then you integrate the brand marketing activities into your budget, and then you push it out to the market. So those are the tools that we will talk about in different kind of scenario.